you're going to develop a whole new district, you need people with different expertises and different perspectives. And for sure, engineers, they have a big role in that process. Okay? So that course is divided in 3 modules or 3 products. We have this first product where we're going deeper in a contemporary urban planning case in Denmark, which in our case is Nordhavn. I guess most of you have been in Nordhavn. How many of you have been there? Yeah, quite. So it's a very popular place, I guess, for swimming. I don't know, for those things. So it's great that you already know the place. So we are going to visit again that place, but with a different eyes, an eyes of an urban planner. So how can you analyze and understand that area through the eyes of an urban planner, an engineer specialized in planning, okay? And today I'm going to talk very much about what you're going to do in that product. And then after that, we are going to do what we call mapping and strategic planning. And then we're going to work with an area that maybe is not as popular as Nordhavn, which is called Nuvo Station. How many of you have been there? You? Why are you smiling so much about Nuvo? It's a good place, right? With a lot of challenge, as much as Nordhavn. So we're going to work in module 2 and 3 with Nuvo Station, okay? And then we're going to do in the first step a mapping of that area together with strategic planning for that area. So it's Nuvo Station and the surrounding neighborhood. And the final product is the development of the sustainable urban planning and mobility solutions. I know that sounds very complex and a lot of things, but I'm very aware, and you guys probably is also very aware, that's an introduction to urban planning. We don't have that much time. So for each of those products, we have 1 week. And again, it's an introduction. So it's very much that you guys feel a little bit of the spice about urban planning and get interest about the subject, and then in the future, you can do other disciplines, or you can do even your thesis in that field. Okay? And I hope you enjoy the journey here with me. We're going to be together every day for 3 weeks. It's going to be very intense. So I already talked about that. So we can have a conversation, a bilingual conversation, or we can try also in Danish or English, whatever you want. And just to emphasize, you can deliver all your material in Danish if you prefer. That's really great. Okay? So our team, I'm a lector, associate professor here, and I'm coordinating that course. And then we have together with the team Sarah, and Sarah has done this course before, right, Sarah? And she just finished her thesis, and she worked with urban planning, and she got a 12, so she knows about the subject. So you can talk about her, and we have been designing the course together, so she's really into that and deep. She has a lot of knowledge. So, and she's going to be with me through all that journey together. So you're also welcome to contact her. You're going to get our emails, right? And then you can also send emails to us, but we're going to be here in the campus to talk with you. And then we do also have Dira Hartmann, which is not here today, and Kai Zhang. They are also going to help. Dira is going to be together with Sarah in the supervisions, and Kai is going to work mostly in the more bureaucratic part, helping in some administration, because you guys are a lot of students, so we need some help. So deadline, in fact, that should be a plural, deadlines. You guys probably saw in the program, you have 3 deadlines. I'm going to show them. So, and you're going to upload the material at DTU Insight. Probably know that better than myself, right? But for DTU Insight, it's easier because the sensor, he has access to the material. And we are going to show to you guys later how you should upload and the title that you should put in the file to make it easier for the sensor. So you're going to have 3 folders to upload the material through the semester. So you do not upload all the material at the end of the semester. Sorry? 9, they're put inside. This one's, I think so, because Learn, the external sensor, he does not have access. Then we need to send everything to the sensor. So what we do is that all the material of the course is at Learn, but you do the upload at Inside, which doesn't make that much sense, I know, but that's what I heard from my department, that we should do this way. Are you familiar with Inside?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Anyway, let's go to the next. So I guess a lot of you are based in DTU right? So you're having a cozy time here at Bellerup. And I think that's great for you guys. Most of you that do not know Bellerup, I think it's a great experience as an urban planner to walk from Malmo Park and to here. And then you can see what really works and what really doesn't work in terms of urban planning, because it's a terrible experience to walk through those streets. Are they designed to home? Maybe that's a question that you can make, and hopefully at the end of that course, you're going to be able to make those questions, so you're not going to take for granted when you walk through the places. So you're going to have a much more analytical perspective when you walk in the streets, and also more technical lens when you walk. So I'm joking about that, but in fact that's quite serious, because the way that you design the districts, it has a major influence in the way that people behave. So what kind of transport are you going to choose to go from point A to point B? How is the life quality in that neighborhood? All of this is very influenced by the design of those districts. And there is a lot of aspects in that design that you are going to talk about here. So again, coming back from this experience walking from Malmo Park to Bellerup campus, we could say that this is a car-centric neighborhood. So it's designed for the car. So you don't have really a design that's thinking or is thoughtful regarding the pedestrians. If you think about the scale of the roads, I don't know the name of the roads, but that major road that comes from Malmo Park into the corner here, if you think in terms of scale, what is the scale of that road? If you're walking or even cycling, you don't have relations, you don't have a relation with the buildings, with the facades. Also, if you think about the facades, what is the impact of those facades that are all closed? You don't have open facades in relation to the pedestrians and cyclists. That also makes a big impact on the life quality. If you walk, for example, in Istergöl or Västerbrogöl or any street in a dense area, or in Lubin, or now it's in construction, but at Klampenborg, you have a completely different scale of city. And that makes a big difference. We're going to also talk a little bit about that. So venues, all the lectures are here at Bellerup, so meaning that you need to be here every day. We're going to have activities every day here, okay? And group activities. So the lecture is going to always be here, and the group work is always going to be in these 4 rooms. And we're going to do the division of the groups today, and also we're going to divide you guys through those rooms. We're going to have 20 groups. That's quite a lot, right? So we're thinking, if we do get all the 120 students that are expected, so the idea is to have 20 groups, and then we have 6 persons per group, okay? And then if we have the 20 groups, meaning that we have 5 groups in each of those rooms. So 1 to 5 is in 0, 2, and go on. And then we're going to have 2. I can see that you have a lot of things to say. you want to say something now, or shall we? No? Okay. And then we're going to have 2 study trips. Probably you also saw that on the calendar. I don't remember here by heart, but I think it's June 7 or 6 and June 13. So it's next Tuesday, and then we have another one the other week. So next Tuesday, we are going to visit Copenhagen, which you guys probably know very well. But we're going to Nordhavn in the morning, and then we're going to Orsted in the afternoon. Okay? And then on June 13, we're going to Niveau. So group formation, 20 groups. We really would like to have students from different areas forming the groups. So, but I can't control that because too many students. But I think it would be nice. Can we control that, Sarah?
Egentlig ikke rigtigt, men det er en stor fordel, at I går sammen fra 3 forskellige retninger, så I har hver jeres ligesom, ting, I kan bidrage med til opgaverne, fordi I er specialiseret i forskellige afdelinger. Så det bliver nemmere for jer at lave de afsluttende opgaver, hvis I har forskellige studieretninger. Der måske er nogle af jer, der ikke har kendskab inden for infrastruktur, og nogle af jer har kun kendskab inden for byplanlægning. Så på den måde er det meget bedre, at I mixer jer. Og så lærer I også meget hinanden.
So shall we say that's mandatory?
Yeah.
Because I see here a group of Motolo, right? There is another Motolo there. So if it's a whole group of mobility, you're probably going to miss something, and also the other group's going to miss something about mobility.
Ja, man kan også sige, når I skal ud og arbejde i firma, så kommer I også til at være blandede ingeniører, som I skal arbejde sammen med.
Shall we say that yes?
Ja, men det kræver ligesom, at ens ambitionsniveau, altså det, hvis jeg for eksempel, jeg vil gerne have, at jeg lægger rigtig meget tid i det, og jeg kommer til i gruppen med folk, jeg ikke kender, så det er jo ikke sikkert alle sammen lægger lige meget.
Yeah, det forstår jeg godt. It can also be very risky to get inside a group that you don't know the people, and we don't have time to do activities to get to know each other because it's only 3 weeks. And you need at least 1 week to get to know people, and so, well, you can be married their whole life and don't know a person, but or a girlfriend, a boyfriend, anyway. But yeah, I don't know. Now we didn't. Let's say I think I would say that I'm not going to do mandatory, but we should strongly recommend that, and it's your own responsibility. Knowing that, I see, because I gave a lecture, I gave a course for some Motolo students here, mobility, and I know them. So if you want to go deeper in mobility, those are the expert mobility ones. So, and then it's your responsibility to go deeper in mobility if you don't get any of those students, for example, and vice versa, because we're going to demand as much as from you guys, even though if you don't get people from different areas.
I think it's responsible not to say that you recommend it.
Yeah.
And it's up to the individual to choose it.
Let's do that. Okay?
Ja, men det er stadig en stor fordel at blande
det er klart.
forskellige
Okay? Ja. Now, I think we're going to have, well, I don't know anything yet. And the same, you guys probably don't know most of the people here. But the idea is that after that lecture, you guys would have a time to interact. I know that's very chaotic because a lot of students, and probably you already know some people that are doing that here. But the idea was to have a minimum kind of interaction between you guys. I think you know better than I how to build up groups because you have been doing that through all your education. But what you're going to do is that you're going to deliver to us the groups together with your name, your student ID, and also your file group. So that's the way that I'm going to know where you are coming from. Yeah?
Så I kan også, er det fint, at I tilmelder sig i gruppen for det?
Yeah. I don't think we should do that. They should do it.
Ja, så jeg har
Ja.
oprettet grupper på Learn, så der kommer til at være, altså jeg mener det er 14 seksmandsgrupper og 6 syvmandsgrupper. Så I går bare ind og melder jer ind jeres grupper, når I har fået dannet dem. Ja, så efter, som Victor siger, efter forelæsningen, så kan I jo sådan mix and match og snakke lidt om på tværs af hinanden.
Yeah, and that's also why you have this afternoon free. Well, not free, but you don't have any supervision and teaching. So you can really spend the time that and prepare yourselves to the visit. But remember, diversity. In fact, diversity is a key word in terms of urban planning in all the ways. Okay? So people from different backgrounds, different gender, colors, all kind of things. So try to mix up. That's always welcome. Also in terms of planning. So can we go further? Yeah? Okay. So just briefly, I'm going to pass through the program. So to be sure that all of you know what we're talking about, and then we have an agreement here since the first day, and you know what to expect through the whole course, okay? And of course, if there is any kind of change, you're going to know. But we are not going to have change in terms of deadline at all. The only change that could happen, and I don't think it's going to happen, is that instead of having group work afternoon, we could have adding of one lecture if I think it's needed. I could give an extra lecture to you guys. Only that way, okay? So that's the first product and first model. It's more or less dividing, we have 3 weeks, and more or less we have 1 week for each activity. So today is introduction. You're going to have a short lecture and group formation. And then in the afternoon, you're going to your group rooms, okay? I know that's the first day, so there is some flexibility here in the afternoon. But this time is very much about to prepare. You guys should do the group formation and also go deeper in the first product. Start to work with that. I don't think you're going to finish the group formation in that morning. So I think you're going to use the afternoon to finish that among you guys, okay? And then tomorrow we have a lecture called Sustainable Planning. So I'm going to talk very much about what is planning and what is sustainable planning, and I'm going to show different cases around the world about sustainable planning and sustainable planning techniques, okay? And then in the afternoon we're going to see a documentary, a very good documentary. It's called A Human Scale. It's in fact, it's written Jengel, but Jengel is not the director, but he's the main character of the movie, the documentary. Do you guys know who is Jengel? Anybody has ever heard about him? Yes? That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah, very excellent. In fact, you know, Jengel is one of the, what is your name? Yeah. Johan. As Johan said, Jengel is a world famous architect and urban planner. He's mostly an urban planner. And in fact, he's a very important person in terms of branding and selling Copenhagen to the rest of the world. And Copenhagen nowadays is very famous around the world by its life quality, cycling culture, all these kind of things. It has to do a lot with that guy, which is called a Jengel. And you can enter into his website. We're going to use here as sources a lot of the websites of urban planning architecture firms. So Jengel has a website with all his projects. Have you recently been in New York? I know that we have the pandemic, but before the pandemic. So the Times Square, you don't have cars there, right? Sorry?
No, not really.
Not really. But if you think about, everybody know are familiar with Times Square? Yes? You know that Times Square nowadays there are no cars there. It's just the same story of Strøget in Copenhagen. And Jan Gehl was the guy in the late 60s that was involved with Strøget. He worked in the Copenhagen municipality. And if you see pictures of Strøget in the 50s, 60s, it was full of cars. And the retail was very against the close down of Strøget for cars and the opening for pedestrians. They said that the clients, they mostly came by car. And then Jan Gehl decided to do the counting. So let's make a lab, let's make a trial, let's close and let's count how many people that used to come by car and how many people you come walking after you close the Strøget. And in fact, they show up that how walkable neighborhoods and pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods, they are very important for economic vitality because you have much more flow of people in walkable areas. And of course, saying that nowadays looks very obvious, but that was not that obvious in the 60s. So that was the first case. And he also was the guy in front of the project of Times Square, and was a quite interesting project that before they changed everything, they made a temporary intervention. So let's see if that works, how that's going to work, and how we're going to do a permanent transformation on that area. Just coming back to the 60s in Copenhagen, the urban planners at that time, they would like to do a sit ring above the lakes in Copenhagen. I don't know if you know about that. So if you think that nowadays would be unacceptable, right? To end up at the lakes and do a freeway there or a ring there. So things has changed a lot in the thoughts of how we should design cities. The only issue that in terms of architecture and urban planning, when you build something that lasts for a long time and has a huge impact on the life of people. So, and it's going to have a huge impact how you behave, how you're going to deal with your neighbors, how you're going to work, and everything else. So it's a lot of money. When it's built to change, it takes a lot to make transformations. Yeah, let's go further. So product 2, and then we're going to have an introduction, not tomorrow, but the other Friday, about product 2. And then on the 13th, it's a Tuesday, we're going to spend the day at Niveau. And it's very important that in these 2 study trips, you go to the study trip prepared. You need to have, well, nobody uses anymore cameras, right? But you need your mobile and maps to make all your observations. This Tuesday, but also on Monday, on the 13th to Niveau. And then we have the last module. And then you're going to deliver all the material in the 32 is great. 32, 23rd. And then you are free for your summer vacation. The exam here, probably you know that. I'm not sure if you know, but we don't have an oral exam. So you're going to upload the material, and the material is going to be assessed by the censor and by myself, and then you're going to get your grade. So after you upload the material on the 23, that's it. C'est fini. Okay? Any questions till now? No? Okay. So just a little bit about the study trip on Tuesday, so you can plan yourself. So Tuesday you don't need to come to Ballerup. Maybe that's good news for some of you and bad news to others. And then we meet at Know-How Station at 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay? All the groups. Okay? It's going to be 120 people walking together in Know-How. That's going to be impressive. But, in fact not, right, Sarah? That's why we have 2 times here. So the idea is that you all spend the whole morning in Know-How. However, I'm going to be with you guys only half of the time. So from group 1 to group 10, I'll be with them from 8 to 10:30, walk around. And then from group 11 to 20, I'll be with them from, there is something wrong here because group 1 has more hours than, I'm sorry about that.
That common planner. Good.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
I put in the plan, but you understood the concept,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to spend 2 hours with 10 groups and then the other 2 hours with the other 10 groups. But the idea is that the other 2 hours that you are by yourself, you spend doing the registration, doing the mapping and the pictures that you need to do to product 1. So I'm going to be engaged with you guys half of the time, talk about the buildings. Do you know Play and Park? Do you know a car parking building? You know how that there is a square?
Red one, red.
Hvad?
The red one.
Yes.
Med legepladsen ovenpå, ikke?
Ja. Har du været op? Ja, hvad synes du om det?
Det er jo udmærket.
Udmærket.
Ja.
Og hvad betyder det? I know it means udmærket, men can you go a little bit deeper?
Det er meget sjovt, at du kan træne med en flot udsigt.
Ja.
Jeg har ikke brugt så meget tid.
Ja. Men what is
Det er en meget sjov funktion. Og så
You were my student, right?
Hvad?
You were my student.
Jo.
Yeah, you changed your hair. Because I saw when I saw you first, I didn't remember, but now I remember. I changed your hair. But I think you are very right.
Yeah.
You know, and when you say that they are my short, that sounds maybe superficial, but it's not. That's so important. You know, one of the main strategies of Copenhagen Municipality is about leisure and fun. How can you live in a city that's fun, is enjoyable, is interesting to be there? You know, that's so important. If you think about planning the 80s, 70s, 60s, whatever, people didn't talk about that. But nowadays, we realize city needs to be fun, needs to be short to all the ages. If you have 80 years old, if you have 8, 20, 25, 60, whatever, it needs to be pleasant. I need to go to my work in a pleasant way. Again, is how short and how pleasant is to walk from Malmö Park into Ballerup campus, for example. You know, how interesting is to, I don't know, to cross the bridge behind Fisketorp to go to Islandbrug, and I think Suna Boulevarden, is that an interesting spot? It's not. Kubyen, I'm mentioning most Copenhagen because it's the place that I know better, but I'm sure there are a lot of places very interesting all around the country. But this factor, play, fun, is very important. And that project is part of an urban planning strategy. And have you ever thought about the name of the building is Play and Park? What do you think about that? Yeah?
Ideen bag at sige Play and Park, det er jo, at du kan sådan sætte din bil, og så er du i nærheden af noget, hvor du kan være aktiv. Altså, at
Ja.
det er det, der kommer til, tænker jeg, at det er sådan, det er tanken bag det her, det er det, der sådan, sætte din bil, og så er du der, hvor du skal være,
Yeah.
tænker jeg. At det er det, der
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and also it's very unexpected. You know, parking is very connected to very boring activity and quite obsolete, also old-fashioned. And then when you're adding a park there, you are giving a message to the population, you know, about change that the city needs. Sorry. So when you think about how you mix up different programs, different uses, that's one of the major roles of an urban planner. What uses should I put together? Okay. I don't know. I'm going to talk about a little bit about design. We're going to talk about that later. But if you think about design, do you know any design from the 60s? any neighborhood from the 60s or 50s? Do you know Vabro Park? Can you know Vabro Park? Yeah?
I know that place. Yes.
Sorry?
I know that place.
Yes. Yeah, I pass through by bike there, going to Lundby every day too. So, if you think in terms of program and uses, Vabro Park was built in a time that you had something that was zoning, that we don't do that anymore. So each activity in their own place, you didn't mix the activities. So you have it's the same with Ballerup. You know, you have industrial, it's even called that, industrial park, residential park. So you distribute the activities in different zones. And that's the way that was seen as very efficient to a city. The city like a machine, you know, each activity in an area. And nowadays we do that quite differently. We saw that didn't work very well. So we start to mix up different programs, how we can densify and put as much as possible programs together, suck them up all in one building, for example. So you're getting but it's from 8 to 12, okay? So is that clear? Because that's Tuesday. We are just seeing each other tomorrow and then that's it. So I'm going to talk a little bit, very briefly, about these kind of urban planning styles, which I already told you a little bit. So we have Vesterbro. When you see that picture, I'm going to show you 4 pictures. And then I want that you guys talk to me what you think about them before I say something. So this is Vesterbro, Copenhagen. This is Vabro Park. This is Årstad. This is Nordhavn. In fact, I have 5 pictures. And this is Carlsbergbyen. Okay? I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? There is a timeline there. Carlsberg and Nordhavn, in fact, are from the same time. So we have a timeline with 4 spots. Vesterbro, we have their Vabro Park, we have their Årstad, and then we have Nordhavn, Carlsbergby. Oh, Carlsberg is missing yeah. Do you want to say something? Yeah, you? Nine? Okay. Is anybody want to mention something about those pictures? Yeah.
Altså hvis man startede med at kigge på billeder af Vesterbro, og du tidligere snakkede om, hvordan at byområderne, altså inde i København for eksempel, var mere dense. Altså det kan man jo tydeligvis godt se der, at det er jo bygget op med, at det er smallere veje, og der er ikke så mange åbne områder.
Ja.
Altså nu er Vesterbro også en del af København, hvor der måske ikke lige er den største park lige ved siden af. Der er jo nogle områder, altså sådan, der er jo både ude til Ørstedparken og Kongens Have og sådan ting, inde omkring Nørrebro og Indre By, som vi bryder lidt mere det der bybillede, hvor at på Vesterbro, der er det meget sådan, altså de lige linjer og de smallere veje og højere bygninger.
They're good. It's a very good analysis. Yeah, please.
So like Vesterbro, like how they planned it, it feels like to accommodate a huge need at the time when it was planned. During the time where there was a lot of migration from the outside of the city to the central, and they needed a lot of housing.
Yeah.
And then compared to Vabroparken, which is a lot newer, there was more room for play. There was more green, and for Ørstad it was a combination of both, I think.
Yeah.
And then the last Carlsberg is a adaptation towards the new way of urban planning.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, it was kind of like the same, hvis jeg kan tage den på dansk. Så jeg har ligesom hørt, at Carlsberg, der bygger man ligesom sådan de her aktiviteter. Og så er det aktiviteterne, der skal tiltrække folk derud for at skabe den her bydel, der ligesom har det her byrum, hvor at folk ligesom har lyst til at være. Så de prøver på at få folk, altså lave bydelen ud fra, hvad der ligger mellem, og det er
Ja.
det, der skal tiltrække folk.
Virkelig godt. Ja? Hvad mere? Er that it? Okay, but that's good. Very good comments. And I think all of you guys said very interesting things. And they are very different. Of course, if we see that picture of Vesterbro, and also if you think about the price of Vesterbro square meter price nowadays, it's very expensive. But it was built for blue collar population, so it was really a low income neighborhood, proletarian, very poor area. But the interesting thing here that at that time, and you know Paris, right? You know Haussmann. Haussmann is the guy, the planner that designed Paris on the 18th century. So in fact, Paris was completely turned down. It's a little bit crazy, but they destroyed Paris and they built that Paris. And that's why Paris looks like a model, you know, a design like a model. Everything is, you know, all the buildings, they have the same height, you have the same scale, the blocks, they have the same rhythm. So, and then you have very clear perspectives to big monuments. So what we call a Baroque city. But most of the cities in the world after Paris, they start to copy Paris. So most of what we see in Oosterbro, Vesterbro, and other cities is that somebody's anyway. But and what we do here. But that was seen as a big model in terms of scale, human scale, connections. However, at the 20th century, urban planners start to think quite differently. They saw that as very unhealthy, not good. Too much density, too many people together. It doesn't work to have work and housing at the same place. You know, we need to clean up the city. So the whole idea in the beginning of the 20th century was to clean the city. That city doesn't work. So we need to redesign our cities. And that happened mostly in North and South America, also in Asia and Africa, in Europe in a smaller scale. Not that many things were just reconstructed in the 20th century. However, during the Second War, there was a big chance for the urban planners to reconstruct cities because a lot of cities were bombed. So if you see the way that Rotterdam was designed, parts of Berlin, or the Barbican in London, a lot of cities with parts that were bombed, they followed that idea. We need to do zoning. We need to put the different programs separated. We need to have residents in one place and work in another place. And we need to free up the public space for green and parks. And plus, we should not have roads and pedestrians together. So we need to have very big green zones and the roads separated. And that's very much what we see in Weber Park. In one way, it sounds very appealing. Okay, I have a lot of green. That's amazing. So I can have a lot of space for leisure. I just took that example because this is the project of Sarah. But in fact, I've never been inside Weber Park, just passing through with my bike. But we can get several other kind of examples. But the idea here that we have a whole residential zone, a self-sustained residential zone with a lot of greenery, with a lot of life quality, but separated from the rest of the city. And that was the major idea of urban planning from the 20s until the 60s. And a lot of things were built based on that. That was the good design. What persons like Jan Gehl that we're going to see tomorrow start to say is that was, in fact, that was not health. That was not good for the population for several things. The first thing, that does not bring urban life. People start to get very isolated. You don't have public domain, something that you said, that the last projects they are designed, the buildings are frames for the public space where people gather together. But to gather together, you need a human scale. And that scale is a car scale. It's too big scale, you know? It's too hard to meet people if you are in such a very open space. It's like, again, walking from Malmö Park into here. You don't have a Huklet public square, and that's very much about scale and design, and you need to think about that in terms of planning. So how much transparent facades you have when you're walking? Do you have contact with the shops, with the houses, with other people? Can you see what's happening on the other side of the street? Do I go through surprises through my walking, my experience in the city? So, and that's also something that changed from the 70s. We start to think again differently from what was designed and what's called the modernist planning. Also, the modernist planning said that everything should be not really mass production, but should be, we should use a standard. So if you see most of the modern buildings, when I say modern, it's not current. Current, we usually say in architecture contemporary. Modern buildings are those from the 20s, 1920 to 1960. So that's the modern architecture. And then we have the contemporary architecture, okay? So the modern architecture, the modern urban planning was really based on the mass production and the standard. We should be all living the same standards in the same way, which sounds lovely. I think we should all have the same opportunities, and we have, how do you say, Jantelo? Yeah, which I think is great. We have a very eco society in Denmark. Everybody has possibilities. For example, here at the university, we have people from different background and different income that's here in the same room. That's fantastic. But the problem about doing everything the same for everybody is the city doesn't have fun anymore. They're so short. You don't have surprises, experiences, and that's very important to live. We need to have those inflections in our experience in the city. And then, of course, I'm doing something very short here. We have that project Orsted. Do you know that? Yeah?
I live there.
Do you live there?
Yeah.
If you want to be more precise, it can even be, that would be nice, but it's not needed. But can you talk a little bit about Orsted?
I will do it in Danish.
Det er fint. Ja.
Det er meget nybyg. Det er meget, hvad hedder det? Hvad kan man sige? Det er meget, ja, jeg ved ikke, hvad jeg skal sige.
Nej, du kan bare sige noget. Det er okay.
Det er hyggeligt. Altså,
er det hyggeligt?
Ja, det er hyggeligt,
Ja.
hvis man bor derude, fordi at man har en tæt relation til, hvad hedder det, dem der bor i de samme bygninger. Hvis man så kommer over på den anden side af søen, vandet, der er sådan en broer hen ad vej over, dem snakker man ikke så meget med, når man bor på den ene side. Så man er sådan lidt delt op fra den ene side til den anden side, når man bor derude i hvert fald.
Spannend. Very good. And again, I think you made a great comment, because I was going to say that, and of course I don't live there, so I don't have the experience of the dweller. Also, I don't live in Weber Park. I lived in Vesterbro before, so I know a little bit there. But Orsted was a trial in terms of her planning, and also was really avant-garde in the 2000s and 19s and 2000s. The whole idea of a public transport-based city. So the whole idea of Orsted, and probably you guys are too young for that, before the buildings were there, the metro line was established. So that's what we call transit-oriented development. And we're going to have a lecture about that next week with a person from Urban Creators. So, do you know the finger plan in Copenhagen? How many people know that? So, in fact, Copenhagen is a huge, the biggest example in the world about that. So, this city, the Great Copenhagen, was built based on the train lines. And the idea of Ørsted and Malmö was to do a 6 finger in one way. So that finger connecting the airport plus also connecting Malmö. And then the metro lines were established there, and then came the buildings. The big challenge that we have in Ørsted, and that is a great case, and that was a public-private partnership. So most of the metro lines were built with money also from the investors. They were building buildings there and selling those buildings. So it was an arrangement, like Bureau does with Nordhavn, Søhavn, and other places. So most of the new Copenhagen, the last 25 years of Copenhagen, is very much public-private investment. The thing about Ørsted, differently from Nordhavn and Carlsberg, I will rephrase that. If you think, what was Nordhavn before became a neighborhood? Anybody knows that?
Var det ikke sådan en industriområde?
Yeah, der var en havn, a port and an industrial, yes. Hvad med Carlsberg? Yeah? Exactly. What about Ørsted?
It didn't exist.
Yeah, well, of course exist, but you're right. Not to see anything or didn't exist. That's our perception. And in fact, if you think about city or architecture, there is nothing. Was grass, maybe cows, I don't know what was there. I don't have idea. Well, in fact, when you are in the hotel, you can see some cows, right? Yeah?
Inden alt blev bygget derude, der boede min storesøster, Figgis var lige blevet bygget derude. Der var der kommet et kollegie, og der boede min storesøster på det kollegie, som var det første kollegie, der blev bygget ude i Ørsted.
Ja.
Og der var sand, og der var marker, og der var ingenting. Der var ingenting.
Yeah, good. And what do you think? Does that have any impact in what these 3 neighborhoods are becoming? Do you think does that make a difference? Have you ever thought about that?
Do you elaborate?
Sorry?
To elaborate. Can we do it in the special?
Yeah. If you are building a new district, a new neighborhood, if you have a pre-existence, when I say pre-existence, I'm talking about uses and also architecture. If you have that before, and then you build a new district on that, and then you have another case that you are building in a place that you guys say anything, but or grass, but you don't have uses or architecture. What is the impact on that? Yeah?
Altså man skal ligesom prøve at forudsige, hvordan der folk kommer til at leve der, og hvad de kommer til at bruge, hvor den by før har været bygget op omkring, hvad der er i forvejen, så skal man ligesom sådan forestille sig, hvad der kommer til at være. Så sådan, de steder, hvor man sådan gerne vil placere sig, det er ikke nødvendigvis de steder, man lige får placeret bygningerne.
Ja.
Så ja.
Ja, det er godt.
Ja, det var lidt det samme, det der med, at man skal sådan forestille sig, hvad folk gerne vil lave der, og skabe et eller andet, der gør også, at folk vil flytte derud. Noget fællesskab. Nu har vi nogle forskellige byparker, og de er delt op i nogle forskellige zoner også derude. Byparkerne og Royal Golf og forskellige ting, og Bellaskin-centeret, som gør, at folk ligesom også kan blive tiltrukket af at komme derud og opleve forskellige ting.
Ja, det er godt. Ja.
Kan det være en pause?
Yes, can I just finish that and then we do the power? Of course, I'm sorry about that. I think you want to say something. Ja.
Den kommende fremtid kommer til at have, så det er egentlig en samtale mellem den nuværende og det der ikke er derinde, som vi forstår, hvad det er fremtid, der bliver. Så der kommer forskellige udtryk af de forskellige arkitekturiske designs.
Yeah, they're really good. And if you see, especially Ørsted, only choose lines and we do the break and then I finish that part, okay? If you see that slide, in fact, you don't have a story before. You need to build a whole new story from scratch. And you don't have references, you don't do retrofitting. It's very difficult. You need to build a whole bulu, a whole life and a whole story from scratch. And that creates a lot of challenges for the area because you don't have a whole background, and that can really bring a lot of power to a project. So what they end up doing also in Ørsted, that they create a lot of iconic architecture, but sometimes they are not connected to each other. And of course, it's still ongoing, and as you have a lot of open spaces in between, it also creates some challenges in terms of human scale and connections between them. And then if you think about know-how, for example, you know the German embassy in the silo, you have a lot of references. A lot of cranes, they were kept. So the history behind that district add value to that. Do you know Kubu? I think Kubu is a great example. So the whole area is being transformed. And that also sounds very sustainable. Instead of building new things, how can you transform existing things that are obsolete? We don't need any more butchers the whole day, 24 hours. So you can have a butcher here. Next to that, we can have, a fitness center. We can have a bar. Yeah.
Same with Ræshalø.
With?
Ræshalø.
Yeah, that's the sun. That's the sun. Yeah, and that's great. And it's the same with Carlsberg By. But now we're going to stop. It's 10 o'clock. How long time do you need? 10 minutes? Are they okay? Okay, 10 past 10, we are back here.